Hey guys, Chuckles here again with another build guide. This time it's for my Lightning Chakram Bladedancer. I've had a lot of requests on stream to make the build guide for this. I wasn't initially going to, but I decided to go ahead with it since there was a lot of requests for it. Now, I will have to say, after playing this build for some time, I noticed that it was largely identical to Trickster's own Lightning Chakram build guide. So credit where credit is due, he made an amazing build. I was surprised that the two builds were essentially identical, which I thought was really funny. So we'll get into it. It's an incredibly powerful boss killer, monolith farmer. It's fast, it's fun, and overall I'm hoping people enjoy it as much as I do. So we'll get into the gear first. If I press the right button. Essentially you don't need any gear to start this build. As long as you convert the chakrams to lightning, which you can get via chest or helmet affixes, I don't have either of them at the moment, you can avoid the need for Fulgurite shards, which converts to lightning damage for you as long as you have two of them. My decision to make this build was when I got to 3 LP Fulgurite shards. I'm yet to find the right dagger to mirror and slam on them. That's a work in progress at the moment, and I can't wait for that to happen. Other than that, the only other item I'd recommend is Rocket's Claws. It gives you an amazing crit damage multiplier, adds the poison on throwing hit, which we'll go into a little later, and the 2 projectiles with Shuriken, which is very important. Even though you're only throwing 1 projectile, I'll show you why that's very important. Other than that, you just want to make sure you get your resists as high as possible, make sure you get your crit strike chance capped, as much crit multi as you can, a little bit of reduced throwing attack mana cost so you can keep Shuriken's mana down to 0. Throwing damage, throwing attack speed, crit strike multi, yeah. So we'll get into the skills now. We'll start with Smoke Bomb down the end. Now, Smoke Bomb is an amazing defensive skill as well as an amazing offensive skill. For the most part, it gives us 3 different types of shrouds. Crimson Shroud so that we can take less damage taken over time, as well as gives us our bleed chance, which again we'll get into later. Dusk Shrouds for Glancing Blow, so you can stay alive a little bit easier, as well as Silver Shrouds for guaranteed chance to dodge the next hit. Gives you a little bit of ward per stack. Overall, it's very handy. We cleanse the elements as soon as we drop the Smoke Bomb, which is also very handy. And the most important part would definitely be the creation of shadows each second within the smoke cloud. The slow chance as well with each second in the cloud helps with survivability on top as well. Umbral Blades is mostly a passive skill because whenever one of your shadows expire, they leave behind the Umbral Blade for you. I have this mainly for the chance to chill enemies, as well as a bit of supplemental damage with the shadow daggers that it applies. We have it as a Blade Storm with Cacophony of Steel, and that allows it to be a rotating, spinning blade on the spot that, with Loathing, seeks out enemies as well. And we have Explosive Blade so that when it explodes, well, when it makes contact, it explodes with the enemy. We get more explosion area and stuff, but the explosion helps to apply the chill, which helps to increase our survivability as well. Shift is, in my opinion, one of the best reversal skills in the game. I think it's very good skill, it's nice and fast, it's very simple to use, and you get really good buffs from it in the sense of the movement speed buff with 1.5 second duration. Doesn't sound like much, but when the cooldown is only 2.5 seconds, which can be lower as well, it's very powerful and very handy. It also leaves a shadow in the place that we shifted from, which when we shift and use Synchronized Strike afterwards, you got all 5 shadows out. We're also invulnerable while shifting, and we get increased dodge rating per dexterity after the shift as well. With Sleight of Hand, this allows Shift to throw out a chakram ahead of us, which is very handy in terms of just getting that, first chunk through the wave of enemies. But the best part about it is Unseen Strike and Consumed by Shadow. So whenever a boss gets low enough, you don't even have to worry about finishing them off. You just shift straight through them and they're dead. Once they're past that kill threshold of 16%, of course. Synchronized Strike is just the bee's knees for this build. It's what generates our shadows over and over and over. So we grab Dark Allies, which increases the shadow creation from 2 to 4, along with Foreshadowing, which increases the damage our shadows do for 4 seconds after we use Synchronized Strike, and we're generally using Synchronized Strike more often than every 4 seconds. Shadow Rush is just an amazing healing ability. This alone, it basically acts, well, this in conjunction with Gear Synthesis essentially acts as a full health heal for us. As you can see, my health pool is not very high, unfortunately. Not by my own choice. As well as we get the 25% increased attack speed after we use Synchronized Strike, which is very handy, of course, for building up our damage. Shurikens is just an amazing ability when you convert it into Chakrams, which you have to go through Ethereal Blades, so you always have the 100% crit chance. Chakrams becomes much bigger than the Shurikens. You only shoot one instead of X amount of Shurikens that you would be shooting. But the best part about this tree is Keen Throw. So you get 12% more damage per Shuriken that would be released if you were releasing Shurikens. So essentially, every Chakram is contained of either 7 to 11 Shurikens, which we get +2. It starts with 3. We get +2 from Fan of Blades. We get another +2 from Loraka's Claws, which puts it at default at 7 projectiles contained in the Chakram. And then Flip of a Coin, which is amazing, gives us an extra, well, a 50% chance for the Chakram to contain 4 extra projectiles. So basically half your Chakrams will contain 7 Shurikens, and half your Chakrams will contain 11 Shurikens, which as you can imagine, with 12% more damage per Shuriken, it adds up quite a lot. Along with that, we get the base crit chance higher, the critical strike, crit multiplier higher, so that our crits are more consistent and, well, preferably capped, and then dealing a lot more damage. The icing on top of the cake for this build is absolutely entry points. It gives you more hit damage per poison and bleed stack, which is why one second. Chance to poison on throwing hit from Loraka's Claws and the Crimson Shrouds from your Smoke Bomb really stack that up incredibly quickly. Let's give you just a quick show. As you can see, like, the damage shows, and that's only with me throwing them myself, as opposed to when you unleash upon the enemy. So that's the basis of all of our skills. I gotta stop using we. I've always loved returning projectiles and abusing the angle of it, leading them through enemies, like throwing them behind me and running them through enemies. I have a lot of fun doing that. It's a fun build, fun skill to play with. It feels good, it plays good, and overall it's very powerful as well. We'll go into the passive tree now. I'm fairly split between the Rogue base tree and the Bladedancer tree. The Rogue base tree actually offers quite a bit for this build, as opposed to just putting the 20 points in it and moving straight into Bladedancer and putting them all there. So first off, we grab Guile, Evasion, and Agility, which increases our defenses by reducing the damage we take while moving, and we're pretty much always moving anyway. We get a dodge rating increase, and then we get haste on hit chance, which is awesome because you're basically always going to have haste with this. Along with all of this, we get increased damage per 1% movement speed, which when we use shift, we get the momentum bonus and haste. When we do that, our movement speed base is 53. If I get haste from that and shift, it goes to 133%, which is 133% increased damage. Along with that, we get Swift Assassin for the attack speed, Lethal Cadence, mainly to move into Disembowel, which just helps us stack up the amount of bleeds we need for entry points, so that we hit that 90% more damage multiplier much faster. Twin Blades is what allows us to do the dual wield. You take a little bit of increased damage while dual wielding, but for the most part, it's not something I notice. So it's definitely worth dual wielding as opposed to, grabbing a dagger and a shield, for example. Dodge and Parry and Thief Guard are great defensive abilities, enhancing our glancing blow chance as well as our health and giving us a little bit of heal whenever we glance. Sapping Strikes is incredibly important because that's what allows us to keep our mana up. Shuriken, being a zero cost mana skill, basically makes it so that whenever we throw shurikens, our mana stacks back up very quickly. Oop, wrong spot. Critical precision is very important so that we get increased critical strike chance per dagger. We're using 2 daggers, so that's 128% increased critical strike chance. Moving on to Bladedancer. Pursuit is very important. You get that increased movement speed bonus. I mean, it's not imperative, but it's very handy for throwing attack damage, as well as the increased movement speed. Cloak of Shadows, Shroud of Dusk, and Apostasy are very handy abilities. I personally prefer to convert my dodge into glancing because I don't have enough dodge chance to rely on it. As well as we get the chance to gain a Dusk Shroud when hit, which increases our dodge and in turn our glancing blow, as well as this flat glancing blow bonus, as well as the increased health we get from it. Once is really good because you get that increased dodge rating, which turns into glancing blow whenever we're hit, as well as the extra throwing damage, which is converted into lightning damage anyway. Gear Synthesis is an incredible ability because it pairs with the healing from Synchronized Strike. Those two abilities, well, those two sources of healing is what basically guarantees us a full health heal every time we use Synchronized Strike, which is very good because I'm quite squishy and I need that full health heal. Flash of Steel is very good. You get the increased damage while dual wielding, as well as the increased attack speed with throwing abilities, melee abilities as well, but somewhat irrelevant to us. Great 1.1 Wonder skill in Argent Veil basically just guarantees that we'll dodge the next attack if we cop too much of a hit. Critical Eye is very great because anytime you're having trouble capping your critical strike chance, the critical vulnerability stacking will get you there anyway. Hook Blades, amazing. We love Armor Shred on any build that relies on hits, as well as the increased Armor Shred effect, which of course makes it better. Spellbreak is great because it gives us our Frailty chance and a little bit of mana regen. Frailty, again, very important for this. It pairs with our Slow and our Chill to form a nice base of our debuffs on the enemies to help protect us. The last two I absolutely love. Shadow Master gives us an extra shadow, so that increases our shadow cap from 4 to 5. Normally it starts at 3, but Bladedancer gets 1 max shadows. You can't see it behind my webcam at the moment, but they get 1 max shadows as a passive bonus, and then 1 max shadows from Shadow Master, making our shadow count 5. Increased shadow damage as well also helps pair with Gear Synthesis, the increased shadow damage from Synchronized Strike, to basically make it so that our shadows do significantly more damage than we do. So you always want to be using your shadows to throw your chakrams. All in is great because we get that massive crit strike multiplier. The less damage taken dealt with non-critical strikes and less damage over time is irrelevant for us because we're critting all the time, and damage over time is pointless for us. So that forms the basis of our passive skill tree. I'm going to go into an Echo and show you guys what it's all like damage wise, but it's a very fun skill to play with overall. You don't have to worry about your mana generally because you stack it back up very quickly. You have incredible burst potential with the amount of shadows that you can throw. It makes bosses very easy because of the spread of the shurikens, the projectiles as well. Monolith farming is very quick. So we'll go and hop into an Echo and show you guys what it's like. But I was very surprised with how powerful this build was, even without my 2 Fulgurite shards being legendary. I'm still searching for that perfect dagger. I'm not going to cave in and use a dagger that's not perfect for it, because the chances of me getting another 3 LP Fulgurite shard probably isn't that high. So let's go for a run. Basically, you just want to shift into enemies, and as you can see, I am very squishy, but with Synchronized Strike, we get that massive full health heal every time. Rares aren't a problem. We do massive damage, even without even using our Synchronized Strike. Just has incredibly high damage potential. Move speed alone allows you to be, the move speed alone helps with survivability incredibly. My health basically acts like a pendulum at this stage because of how squishy I am. I would like a lot more health and defenses overall, but at the moment we're relying on the principle of the best defense is a good offense. And honestly, I quite love it. So as you can see, everything just drops really quickly, even with things like dodge chance on the map. We keep decoy on the bar, even though we're not spec'd into it for any dangerous moments, because it does just take the aggro for us. It's a great skill to have if you can fit it on the bar, if you have a passive skill, which is why I don't have Umbral Blades on the tree. As you can see, the Crystal Lotus just dropped instantly. So the damage potential is incredibly high. It's only going to get better, which is something I cannot wait for. Not going to worry about all that stuff. Let's go kill the Emperor of Corpses so you guys can see the simple target damage potential. We always like to drop that smoke bomb and just constantly synchronize strike, and then get the hell out of there when he's about to go boom, and then get back in there and get back to it. So generally I'll synchronize strike and then throw out a lot of shurikens in between just to keep my mana up nice and high. So yeah, as you can see, the burst potential is crazy, and then once he's ready to drop, you just dash through him and he's gone. So yeah, overall, it's an incredibly powerful build that I'm very happy with. It's only going to get a lot stronger, a lot tankier as I find better gear. We're trying to find all the gear we require on this guy while playing this character, just so the stream can see what the progression is kind of like with this character. But overall, it's quickly become one of my favorite builds. It's my fastest build currently, especially when we get a haste shrine and we have all our movement speed up. We get to about 160 something movement speed. It's just overall a very powerful and very fun playstyle, and I really hope people enjoy it as much as I do. So with that all being said, I'm Chuckles, thank you for watching, and I hope you all have fun. Cheers.